Good evening, friends. Welcome to another episode of the Second Age Show. My name is Strider, and here with me we have Hen. Good evening.
Hi, everybody. Hi.
And we have Harry. Hello, sir. How's it going?
Hey, what's up?
So, what is up is that we have some really cool scoops here for tonight. And actually, they are Numenorian scoops, which is really cool because we have not heard enough about Numenor in season 2. And I'm very excited about this one. So, let's just get right into it. The first bit of news for the evening is that exclusive tensions are really high in Numenor throughout season 2, resulting in a major disaster happening in the capital city near the end that stems from the faithful versus Kingsmen dilemma. This will not be the sinking of Numenor, so something else, but something major.
Yeah, but just to want people not to come to conclusion that oh, we've seen like the island sink in season 2. It's something separate to that, but it could still maybe lead to that in future seasons. But it's like not specifically that moment.
I mean, a
Yeah,
ship blew up in season 1, so,
Yeah.
that sort of thing.
From what we understand, it's a lot bigger than
Yeah, but I'm saying,
Yeah.
that sort of thing.
yeah. That's what it's like.
Sabotage, warfare, that sort of
Maybe
thing.
a
Mm.
death, a big major character's death.
yeah.
Maybe a major character
Whatever happens, it is for sure, as Harry just said, it will for sure be one of the steps that will
Yeah.
actually lead towards the sinking of Numenor. In what we can only assume at the moment is going to be end of season 3 or some point in season 3.
Because what
Um,
makes an island sink is having less people on it, which makes it way less, which makes it sink more. Never mind.
it's physics, it's science.
Yeah.
So yeah, what could this be? Some of the thoughts that came to my mind are, so we had our Farazon in the he wasn't our Farazon, he was just Farazon in the first season, trying to play like some seeming to be playing some political game, trying to maybe like do it from the shadows in season 1, setting up some stuff for the future. And we had Miriel. So the last bit of Numenor we got was, specifically from Miriel, was that she wanted to come to Middle Earth because she was very angry at orcs. And she said that they awakened, or whatever was the exact quote, but she said they awakened basically, and they don't know what they started. So could this be that maybe there's like, just theorizing, two factions? One is maybe pro-war, let's go to mid.
Pro-interventionist, let's say.
Yeah, let's go to Middle Earth, let's wreck stuff there, and maybe there's another group that's against that, and then maybe these two factions eventually form into the Kingsmen faithful. What do people
Mhm.
think?
And then that formation leads to a major event happening, which causes something bad. So I think I think you've hit the nail on the head as to what the tensions will be like leading up to this big disaster. But yeah, what now is what could that disaster be? And I had one interesting point, which I don't think will be the case, but I'm just interested in that because with Gondor, they did have a lot of famines throughout the years, and maybe that if it's maybe something like a
Oh, sure,
disaster, as
famine,
in
pestilence,
a
yeah.
famine near the end, something like that. But I don't see how that could link too much to the faith of West Kingsmen,
Yeah,
unless
Numenor
they
is such
cause
a
the famine.
place. Yeah,
Yeah,
Numenor is played up as such a place, of plenty that I
yeah,
find that would be a very hard thing to pull off in
true.
case of
I'll
Yeah,
be right here. Please continue talking. I'll be right there in like 10 seconds. Good, just
Yeah.
go on.
cool. So, yep. And what do you think?
One of the things that I'm thinking is that I'm still hungry, but as to the subject at hand, I mean, I said most of the stuff. I mean, I think it's just along the lines of the sort of stuff we had in season 1, but obviously bigger because I don't know, a clash between opposing forces, riots in the streets,
A bigger
Mhm.
something
explosion.
blowing up. The nature of the city is such that you can have something blowing up which would cause a kind of avalanche because it's on kind of rocky outcrops and mountainsides. Who knows?
You know,
It could also be a major character death, as you said, like a Shishka Kemen or whatever. Or that
you
sort
know,
of.
but what is interesting is that Sauron, from what we know, is not going to be going to Numenor.
Yeah,
It's,
the
it's
ocean
season two,
tends to.
which
Yeah,
is why that's interesting that the tensions seem to be starting already way before he gets there, and they seem to be escalating to some major level.
yeah.
Uh, yeah,
Well, to be
so
fair, I
that's
mean,
interesting.
there's a kind of instigation for tensions that results, at least indirectly, from Sauron, because all of the malarkey with the orcs and stuff, and Numenor went there, and Miriel is blind, and you know,
Yeah,
uh,
but that's the indirect influence. It's interesting that like so I have Tolkien Gateway open, and it's regarding the Kingsman. It's a Kingsman article, and it says that Sauron's mastery over them was so complete that he could walk about the land, and then the quote is setting man against man and causing them to slay each other. But this feels like it's like he's not going to be there, so it's going to be interesting to see what this might be because,
But no,
like,
one
so,
interesting thing that
yeah,
you mentioned now, what happens if it's a kinslaying? Imagine that.
oh, that's an interesting point. What's the name of it in Gondor? It's not a
Kinstrife.
kinslaying. It's
The
a
kinstripe, yeah.
kinstrife. Yeah, that sort of thing. I mean, they've done that sort of thing where they'll take. They've done it with names more than anything else, but they'll take stuff from first age, third age that they have the rights to, and they'll just mix and match it. So
Just like
they
with the
could.
Arondir Bronwyn love thing, like,
Mm.
happened in the first age, happened in the third age, has to happen again. Maybe something like that. But for me, I think the bet is like a big disastrous event or moment, and it includes a death of one of the characters.
Yeah, that
That's what
makes
my
sense.
bet is currently.
Yeah, because it's a major disaster. Disaster does imply that it's like an event rather than someone gets killed. I mean, someone can get killed in the process of it, but it's not. It doesn't. The way it's worded, it doesn't sound like if someone gets killed or assassinated or whatever, you're not going to say it's a major disaster. Disaster is something that impacts maybe like a larger part, whether socially or geographically in a sense. So it could be, I mean, an avalanche. I don't know if something like that happened in Numenor, but
Fire.
something like that could be like a big fire perhaps. Yeah, could be. But maybe it might end up being this clash between two factions perhaps or something, which is actually it coincides quite neatly with our second exclusive, which Hen could maybe read for us.
Yes, he can, if he can ever find it. Exclusive. In a pivotal moment in episode 5, Elendil will hastily leave the capital city of Numenor and ride away on his horse. He is described as looking haggard. The scene is meant to be impressionistic and presented as such on the screen.
So before we
Whatever
get
that
into
means.
before we get into this, folks, listen to this. Can you please share with us your ideas on what potential major disasters we could be seeing in season 2? Yeah. So yeah, this impressionistic part is maybe a bit
Yeah.
odd, but it's an
No, it's
interesting scene.
not.
So Elendil seems to be so. Two reasons why he would have to leave the capital is he either is forced to leave, so he's fleeing, or something is happening somewhere, and he needs to get there as soon as possible. But
True.
in
Yeah.
the context of the first one, it's probably that he might have to leave. So, any theories? What can be happening here?
And we also know
I
it's in
don't
the
know.
countryside, so it's outside the walls and
Yeah,
city.
I mean, we saw that in season 1 too. We
Mhm.
saw Elendil and Galadriel
Maybe he
ride
goes
out.
to somewhere else.
He
Maybe
could go.
Hollow
He could go to the same place. That's to say that
Tower.
where was it? Hall of Lore.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah,
Or he
or
could
Tower
go
Lore. Yeah,
to. Or he could go to. They keep on talking about the Western Shore,
Yeah. Maybe
and
meet.
I'm always.
Armenelos.
an
Yeah,
audio.
I'm really wondering what the hell is going on there, because it almost sounds like a kind of a beach bum kind of commune or something to
A little
me. I
hippie
don't know.
gathering.
Yeah, I
The
don't
West
know.
Coast
I,
was.
I'm hoping that maybe, again, hoping, who knows if we're going to get anything remotely close to that, but that maybe there was already some kind of a division, political division in the past.
Yeah, it sounds
And
like
then,
it.
and
Yes.
yeah, and that, yeah, I mean, that is kind of the implication. We can kind of deduce that, even though we don't have hard evidence. But if there was some political division in the past, and maybe there is already some, basically, like the precursors of the faithful are already there, and then he needs to leave because maybe now in the present day these tensions have again,
Have boiled.
yeah, boiled, and then there was a clash, and then perhaps Elendil is now, okay, I need to go to my son. Perhaps he was right to
That's what I'm
go
thinking.
away there.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it has a lot of potential to be an interesting scene because, you know, if we maybe, you know, just for the sake of discussion, if the city is in flames or something, and we see Elendil riding hastily on a horse away, and then there's the city burning behind him, like it could be a very interesting, really cool cinematic
Mhm.
moment.
Yeah, I think the impressionistic part of that. But I think this him leaving is 100% linked to the tensions,
Mm.
and maybe like he had a falling out or lost like a decision in the council or something, and then just has emotions take the better of him, and he just has to leave. It's like an emotional scene. That's another way to look at it.
But what could it be like? So as far as he knows, and I guess we have to assume at this point that maybe he doesn't know that Isidore lives. So maybe he isn't pro-war, and perhaps there's also a falling out between him and Miriel, perhaps because maybe Miriel is forcing this. Okay, army, we need our armies. We're heading back. We're going to war. We're going to do whatever she's planning on doing, and maybe he's against that.
Why
He
go to
doesn't
war
want
when
to.
your son died there?
Yeah, maybe he's against. Maybe he doesn't want any more sons of Numenor to die. Perhaps.
True.
No, but that wouldn't make sense because of the way the final scene of his in season 1
Hmm.
is kind of reaffirming his, faith in the cause of the faithful. So it would make no sense whatsoever to then pedal back from that and say, no,
Which scene?
Elendil
Which
now.
part?
Oh, he says he and Miriel are in the bowels of the sheep and the ship.
All right.
And
Yeah.
he says something to the effect of, I could have not gone. I could have stopped my son from going, but I chose the way I did because something about the way of the faithful. I can't remember, but
Oh, you have a
get my
great
point.
memory. Oh my god, I didn't even remember that.
Sorry. Yeah, it could be something like that, but perhaps he doesn't like the way, that's what I'm saying. Like there might be a falling out between perhaps him and Miriel because
For
maybe
sure.
she wants to go super extreme about it because she did seem very resolute to
Oh,
really
totally,
go
yeah.
and do something very, strong, like make a very strong statement. So perhaps that's what I'm saying. There might be a falling out. Perhaps, as Harry said, like maybe the council has this decision that they get to, and Elendil is strongly against it, and maybe then there's this clash perhaps between the two parties. Again, this is presumably that it is indeed a clash between two parties. We do not know what will actually happen. But what does sound cool is that we are going to see, it seems that we're going to see more of the big stuff happening in Numenor, which is actually related to our next bit of news, which Harry is going to share with us.
Yep. So in the now updated, edited 8-episode cut for season 2, there have been more Numenor scenes included than in the first cut, which, as Strider says, means you'll see more of it. So, yep, thoughts?
So, I think the plot in Numenor, especially once Galadriel, basically when the army leaves, the plot is basically almost non-existent in Numenor. We see very little of it. Basically, we see a couple of scenes with I'm sorry, what's her
We see
name?
Farazon a bit, I think.
We see a bit of him and Emma Horvath. What's
Yeah,
her name?
we have scenes with the king mostly. Yeah.
Yeah, but the Elendil's daughter anyway. We see her, and
Yeah.
she's doing like the king is dying, and she's one of the people trying to,
Capture. They do
capture his likeness and everything. Yeah. So but that's mostly it, and we kind of see this little breadcrumbs of what's going to become Farazan's character arc. But it's good news that we're going to see more, and we did hear. I remember when we were doing this for season 1, I remember one of the bits of news was that the actor playing Farazan was reported to be maybe even the best actor on the Numenorian set. That was one of our season 1 exclusives, and I think it would be really cool, and it sounds, by the sound of it, we will get that to see him really go into it, to see maybe this descent from this, at this point in the story, still a noble statesman, because he didn't really do anything sinister at this point.
Yeah, like,
and then we can see his fall maybe in this season.
I think the experience of something like this, watching for somebody who doesn't know the story, they don't know that Farazan is going to be the villain at all. So if you're watching it like that, it's very interesting to see how the Farazan scenes play for somebody like that, because except for 1 or 2 moments fairly later on, he seems very matter of fact, simple,
reasonable.
Reasonable. Certainly next to Galadriel, I'm sorry to say. But so yeah, that's interesting, because we see him like, underneath all of this, he's, or at least going to become the villain, whereas somebody who doesn't, I mean, he seems like, a normal kind of counselor.
Counselor Farazan.
Yeah.
Chancellor Farazan.
Chancellor.
Execute Order 66. Yeah. I don't know. I really hope we get to see way more development.
No, I'm just excited
of all the characters.
Yeah.
There. Yep.
No, so I was gonna say I'm excited to see Numenor developed without it being through Galadriel and Halbrand's storyline. Very looking forward to that.
Yeah, no, I mean, now that they're away, we can actually focus perhaps on the actual lore stuff and properly start building that story. I think this is actually a huge boon for this storyline, that Galadriel's arc isn't there anymore, because she was there, now she's gone. Now we can focus on what is supposed to happen instead of dancing around it, because that's what we had to do kind of in the more than half of the storyline in the first season was non-necessary, in terms of the arc of Numenor as a country. Okay, so do you have any additional thoughts on this?
I think just to let us know what you think the big disaster is. I think that's the main takeaway from today. Interested to see suggestions.
Lots of beans in Numenorian diet, leading to an epidemic of flatulence.
I do not know what that sentence meant, but I think it makes
sense. Can we get English translation for that?
Yes.
You don't want the English for it because it will cost you views.
Yeah, I know.
And monetization.
I heard the hints of, yeah. All right. So honestly, I'm just happy we're going to see more Numenor, because Numenor is one of the most majestic.
Yeah.
I mean, it is actually said to be the greatest civilization ever.
And
in
it
Middle
did look
Earth,
like that in season 1.
And it did look like that.
Reasonably like it. Yeah.
Season 1 had a lot of issues, but that opening scene when we are seeing Numenor for the first time, and that amazing harbor with that huge cliff and that huge statue, wide shots were amazing. And I really enjoyed when we were reading before the first season came out, when we were reading the descriptions of the architectural styles that they were working on, and that they were trying to be like, okay, some of the older buildings are looking more elvish, because elves were very present in the beginning. They were helping develop the civilization, and then as the time goes on, the newer architecture is actually Numenorian, like more the men's architecture, and it looked really, really rich. And I hope we get to explore more of this culture. I hope they really allow themselves to go deep into this, and that we see a lot of these deeper layers of the civilization, because it deserves its screen time, and it's really good news that we're going to get a lot.
The only question is, what is it coming at the expense of in terms of the edit? Because it has to come at the expense of something. That's what editing is.
Yeah,
and
true.
we can't really say without seeing the edit. But I think it would be a shame to focus so much on Numenor that the Elven stuff would be, because I had this discussion a few times recently when people ask about the Second Age, and I'm like, no, the important story of the Second Age is not Numenor at all. The meat of the Second Age is all the ring stuff and all the elf stuff.
Yeah, of
That's
course.
the thing that actually pays off big time in the Lord of the Rings. The Numenor stuff, theoretically, you could cut it out of the story and do a very small rewrite and go around it, whereas the rings are absolutely essential to the story going forward. And so, Numenor is flashier, but it's not actually more important than the Elven stuff.
Interesting way to look at it.
I always looked at it
Yeah.
like this. I remember super
I mean,
early on.
I can see the point, but like from Numenor we do get Arnor and Gondor, but I mean, I do get what you mean, like because all the plot, everything everything in the Third Age is happening. Everything in the Second Age, everything in the Third Age is happening in Middle Earth, and Numenor is outside of it.
Yes.
And Numenor's plot line basically moves at some point here. It's not the other way around. So this is why we should focus more on this. I do agree with that.
Yes.
I would argue,
if Numenor didn't exist, if it was just Gondor, the story would be absolutely the same.
Yeah.
If just Gondor existed from the Second Age and there was no Numenor, the Lord of the Rings would have been exactly the same story. Whereas
pretty much.
with the rings, you can't do that. With
but
Celebrimbor, you can't
Numenor
do
does give good context for Aragon as well.
that.
It does. But in terms of, I mean, Hen is kind of right. Like in terms of the major story implications, Numenor isn't super essential for the main story of the Second and Third Age.
Which, by the way, makes perfect sense because Tolkien wrote the stories of the Third Age, and he also wrote a story of what would become Numenor, and then he came up with the idea of the Second Age, and he sort of said, let's put the Numenor stuff here. And it feels a little less integral because it was conceived of separately.
But we can then, I think it is a good point then what this cut, this
and our main characters
will bring us. Like, do we lose something of the other storyline? Hopefully, I'm just hoping it's better balanced than the first season.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But it's also another good point worth mentioning. Our really main characters are both elves. I mean, Galadriel and Elrond are really the main characters of this. They're both elves.
Well, but we will, like Elendil and Isildur will continue to be more and more of the key players.
Yeah, and I think going forward, Elrond and Galadriel will be same storyline as well. So maybe not as much people from them.
Yeah.
I think the good thing, or the one thing we can call for, and it does make sense, is that there will be maybe fewer storylines in the second season.
They'll join up. You mean? I think so. Yeah.
Or at least they will join up earlier, and then we can focus on this is it. Like basically Numenor, everything around the region, which can also incorporate the dwarves, and basically all the other important characters. And then we're going to have. We'll still have Southlands and whatever's happening in the East, but that's for another video.
Yeah, so that's like 4. That's manageable. Yeah.
That should be manageable. Yeah. But okay, I'm just happy we have more Numenor. Yes. So, does anyone have maybe some final thoughts, perhaps, on any of the 3 big?
You asked us that 5 minutes ago.
Well, yeah, but now we're going to sign out. Okay, well, if not, again, folks, please leave your theories. We are all very interested in hearing what this major disaster could be. But good news is we have more Numenor. We are going to have an AMA also after this episode,
Oh,
Harry, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Wait,
So
what time is the Manchester derby? Let me check real quick.
Right after the next rocket shower.
3:30, we're fine. We're all good. Yeah, we can do AMA.
Okay, now do you just have to cut this out?
No, it's fine. We'll keep it in. So,
All right. Well, sure. So anyway, there's going to be an AMA after this, or like within 15-20 minutes. So yeah, it's going to be in our Discord. There's going to be a link in the description. The important thing is we're going to first watch the Manchester Derby, yeah, of course.
yes.
And
Manny.
yeah,
Come
thank
on,
you
you.
everybody for tuning in. We are going to get back to you very soon with another bit of news regarding Rings of Power. So enjoy your evening and talk to you soon. Goodbye.